Katie the Novel Stitcher. It is Sunday, January 15th, and this is Flosstube number 10. I've hit double digits, which is really exciting for my Flosstube. Thank you all for joining with me today, especially to my new subscribers. I think there are quite a few new people here, so thank you so much for subscribing to my channel, and I hope you'll like what you see and stick around. I think quite a few of my new subscribers probably came over from Bridget. She is the museum stitcher on Flosstube, and she gave me a very kind shout out in her latest video, so thank you so much, Bridget. It means so much to me to get that shout out, and for all of you who've come over and joined me from there, thank you so much for heading on over. And I think I got a couple smaller shout outs as well, so thank you to anyone who mentions my channel. This is such a warm and welcoming community, and it's so great to see. There's just so much joy and kindness in the Stitchy community, which is just wonderful. And to anyone who has been around from the start or has been around for a while, thank you for returning. Thank you for all your comments. I love reading the comments. I love interacting with you. I think Flosstube can feel a little bit like a one-way street, but the comments are really where I can start to get to know you and interact with you, to learn about what you're stitching, what you're doing, how your life is going or how your year is going, what you're reading. Just learning more about you is so much fun, and there's lots of commenters who I now am starting to see the names multiple times and getting to know you, which that's a lot of fun to really form those relationships, even if they're all virtual. It's still really special. So thank you so much for everyone who is here right now spending your time with me. I know time is precious, and for you to spend some of it checking out what I'm working on is wonderful. The past couple of weeks have been pretty calm, pretty quiet, not too much going on. Quiet, relaxing New Year's Eve with my boyfriend Alex. I did get some stitching in, started a couple new things on New Year's Day. Otherwise, we've just kind of been relaxing. Work has been a little bit busy for both of us, and so just hanging out. Alex's birthday was yesterday, so we played some card games and ate some junk food and just had a really relaxing day in, which was, I think, greatly needed for both of us. So things have been pretty good. And then we'll just get right into the stitching because I have a lot of stitching to share. So I will be showing off in this episode a fully finish. I have 3 new starts, which probably won't happen too often, but I was just in the mood to start things. I have a couple whips and my whip go. I'm going to talk about my best bunnies stitch along. I'm so excited to host my first SAL, so I'll talk a little bit about that. And then I have some Flosstubers to recommend, so we'll give you some recommendations for other Flosstubers you should check out. A little bit of haul, which might be kind of spread out throughout the episode, just a little bit this time. And then I will have some Bookish chat, and that'll come at the very end. So if you're not a big reader, you just don't have time to read right now, you can head on out when that section comes, but that'll come at the end. So we will get into it. I have one fully finished object that I think came out so well. And so this is Silent Night by Cottage Needleworks. And I did this on a 32 count dove lugana. I used all the called for DMC except for the church, which I did in Weeks Dye Works White Lightning to get that nice variegation. And I think this just turned out so lovely. I wanted it just in a very simple frame. Let the stitching and the message shine for this one. I got the frame at IKEA. So I just needed to get a few things. So I went to IKEA the other weekend and I saw this frame and thought, ooh, that would be perfect. It's 9x9 and I think it looks really great. And I was debating whether to put the plastic on it or not. But I decided for this one to do that, to protect it, because I'm immediately gonna pack it away because it's Christmassy, and so I won't bring it out again until next year. But I wanted to finish this so that it would be done and ready to display when the next Christmas season comes around. So I'm really happy with how that one turned out. I do not have any finished items right now. Everything else is kind of just still in the works. I do want to try to make pretty good progress on some of the smaller projects I have, so I do have finishes because I am working on some larger things and I want to have a good balance of whips but finishing things, of larger projects and smaller projects. I think there's always talk about Are you the kind of person who stitches to make something to really display in the end, that you really want to get to that finishing line? Or are you someone who stitches just for the joy of stitching? I think I'm a little bit of both, but I think I'm more like, I'm going to stitch things I like and stitch things I do want to put up in my apartment at some point. It doesn't have to happen right away, but I do pick things that I think would work well with my decor, or be something I would like hanging on a wall or sitting on a shelf. So and I'm very new to cross stitch. For anyone who's new to my channel, I only started cross stitching last year. It was kind of like I want a new hobby to do during the winter months. Over the pandemic, I had been doing paint by number, which I enjoyed, but there were these really big canvases. You have to get out the paints and set up the easel, and there was a lot more involved, and I wanted something kind of like that, but like a little bit more simple to do. So I decided to check out cross stitch, because I had seen some people on Instagram who had picked up cross stitching during the pandemic, and I got really into it, and here I am. But I don't have a ton of finished things, so I really want more to display, especially non-seasonal things, stuff that can kind of just be up year round. So let's get into my starts. So my first New Year's start that I started on New Year's Day is Country Cottage Needleworks, the bookstore. So pretty. It's just very simple. I love their patterns. So this one's really lovely. And Alex, my boyfriend, got me that one for Christmas. And so I just have a very, very little start. This is on 18 count beautiful beige. I'm using the called for beautiful beige Aida. I'm using the called for DMC, and I am doing 2/2. So yeah, not much done on this one, not much to see, but I did want to get a start. So I only worked on this New Year's Eve. I haven't picked it up since, so I will hopefully be picking it up again in the next couple of weeks and putting a lot more stitching in it, because it's so cute and I really like it. But I at least wanted to get it started so that I could pick it up and go when I'm ready to work on it more. And then the second one, another New Year's Day start, was Au Fil de Mois by Jardin Prive. And this is all of the months of the year. And so I haven't done one that tracks all of the months of the year, and I thought this one was really pretty. Oh, there's something on it. So I'm working on January, so I'm going to work on each little square within the month, and so that will feel nice. Like I'll finish each square each month, and that'll give me a sense of accomplishment, but then I don't have to rush to do the whole thing, just do it in little bits and pieces. So I'm just working on January for this one right now. And this one is on a 28 count wheat lugana. I'm using the called for DMC, and a little bit more progress on this one. So that's what I have for that one. Just the tree and the little bird, and then the start of January. And just to tell you, I did get a little bit of haul from, I can actually maybe put this behind it so it shows up better. No, okay, I'm not gonna do that. Sorry. But I got a Nerd hoop because I wanted to try it out, and I needed to get a few things from Fat Quarter Shop. And so I thought, I'll add one more little thing to the order to kind of make the shipping worth it. And so I decided to try out the hoop. Mostly I've been using Q-snaps. I did try regular wood or bamboo circular hoops. When I started stitching, I thought they were okay. But then I heard about the Q-snap, and I thought I would try that out. And I really like how you can really tighten things on the Q-snap. I like a more square shape for some reason. The circle, I don't know why, it throws me off. So I really like this Q-snap, but the one thing I have with the Q-snap is it's thicker, and if I'm holding it for a while, my hand starts to feel kind of crampy. So I thought this is much thinner, but you still get the square shape, and I like it so far. It's not lighter than a Q-snap because I've held both of them in my hand, but for some reason it feels lighter. I forget exactly which size this one is, so I'll put it in the description. I think there's 3 sizes. This might be the medium, or it might be the largest. It's like 7 by 11 maybe. I could be wrong. I will look it up and put it in the description if you're interested. As far as tension, I think to me it's pretty good tension. It's probably not as good as a Q-snap. And a Q-snap, you just can turn the sides to make it tighter. This, if it gets loose, you do have to pull on it or adjust it via this on top. So maybe not as easy to adjust, but it doesn't bother me too much. I don't mind just like tugging it a little if I need to. And I just like the surface area too. I like having like all this room to see what you're stitching. And then the one thing about it being thinner is you can get closer to the edge, whereas the Q-snap kind of comes down, so you actually lose a little room where you can stitch near the edges. So far I like this. You can buy them on the Fat Quarter Shop, and I'm sure shops on Etsy and other stitching stores sell these, but I like it so far, and it was only like $6 or $7, so very affordable. So anyway, that is my start of the months by Jardin Prive, and obviously I will finish this in the next 2 weeks so that I get January done and can start stitching on February. And then my third new start is part of a stitch along. Jessica from Sweetwater Stitcher, she is Sweetwater Stitcher on Flosstube as well as on Instagram, decided to do a stitch along for Big Hearted Tiny Town, which is one of the Heart and Hand designs. They have these little towns they have a Halloween one, they have a Christmas one, they have a patriotic one, they have a spring, summer, like in bloom one. And I heard they're coming out with another new one, which everyone is debating what it could be. I think it might be fall, but we'll see. But this is like the Valentine's Day one. And I actually bought this pattern from Hollis Hands Creates on Etsy. Just has a little Etsy stitching store because I wanted to get a couple things of fabric before the end of the year because I'm trying not to spend too much on stitchy stuff in the new year. So I wanted to buy a couple things before the year closed out. And I just decided to throw a pattern in there. So I chose this one because I don't have any Valentine's Day stitching. And then Jessica announced her stitch along. And then I had a rough week last week. Work was just busy. It was just a little stressful, nothing super bad, but just a little stressful. And on Thursday night, I was just like, I just want to start something new. I had the urge. And so I was like, I'm joining the SAL. I have this pattern. I'm gonna use what I have in stash for DMC and hope that I have most of the colors and I have plenty of fabric in stash. And so I decided to start this. And I'm pretty sure it's Big Hearted SAL if you want to join in and check out Jessica's channel to see her progress on hers. And so for Big Hearted Tiny Town, I am doing this on a 32 count affogato by Fiber on a Whim. I'm using mostly the called for DMC, but I didn't have every color, so I just found very similar colors. And yeah, I am doing 1/2 on this one. And so that's my progress, just the middle, just a little house in the middle, but it's so cute. I really like this. This is just stuff I put on my Q-snap to make it tighter. It's like the stuff you put in your drawers to keep them from getting dirty. I just had a whole roll of it, and so I use that to keep these tighter. But that's what I have so far. And actually, I wouldn't normally do 1 thread over 2 fabric threads on 32 count, but I initially was going to use a 36 count for this one, and then it was a little bit lighter, and I didn't think the white and the light pink would show as well, so I chose not to, but then I was still in the frame of mind that I was stitching on a 36 count. So the 1/2 was not on purpose, but I think it looks fine. I think it looks nice and delicate, and I don't mind that there's like a little bit of fabric showing through. That doesn't bother me too much. And this one will be really quick. So that's kind of one of the other reasons I wanted to start working on this one, because I knew it would be pretty fast stitch. And this was only like a couple nights of stitching. So that one's really cute. I'm enjoying that one. And then I will have something for Valentine's Day. I will try to finish it by Valentine's Day. And I don't know if I'll fully finish it. I'd have to figure out how I want to finish it. Probably like they did on a board. That's really pretty. So I would need to get some fabric, and I can't quite show you because I don't want to show you the pattern, but there's like little buttons too, little heart buttons. So I haven't done any with little buttons, so that's cute, and it comes with the buttons. So that's the Big Hearted SAL. So those are my starts and my 1 finish, and then I have 2 whips. And so the 2 whips are part of Whip Go. And Whip Go is, if you don't know, is from Jessie Marie Does Stuff on YouTube, and I think she's just Jessie Does Stuff on Instagram. And so this was her idea years ago, to do kind of a bingo board for your whips. I don't have enough whips to fill out the whole bingo board, but she even says in her videos where she talks about WhipGo that you can kind of make it your own, make it work for you. And so what I did is I put whips on my board, but also just categories of seasons. And then so what you do is you put your whip or something like a category or any kind of task, and then you put a goal you want to achieve. And so for WhipGo this month, there's 25 squares. She calls 2 squares a month, except one month she'll call 3. And so I did all of my goals, either a certain number of hours of stitching in the month, or if it's a whip, 2 of the whips I have are many pages, so it's to finish a whole page. And so this month, one of them was 6, that's Winter Rose Manor. If you want to take a look at some of what I have written on her here. And that's to work on Winter Rose Manor for 6 hours. And so here is Winter Rose Manor by Brenda Gervais. I know a lot of people have worked on this one, and it's just beautiful. And it just caught my eye. The very first time I saw this pattern, I was like, wow, I love that big pink house. I love the cardinals and that border, which is all different, which I love. A border that's, you know, not the same all the way around, kind of uses different kinds of elements. It's just beautiful. And so many people have or are working on this one, but I can see why, because I'm loving stitching on this one. And I think I'm almost at the 6 hours for the month already. And so I'm using the, I need to figure out this. These are getting all tangled. I don't know what I'm doing. I've never used like a floss drop. I mostly bobbinate, but I don't really know what I'm doing with the floss. I think that's where I'm at my most disorganized. Most stuff is on bobbins, but with the nice fancy floss, I wanted to try to do this, but now it's getting tangled. So if you have tips there, let me know. I'll figure it out and I'll find a system that works for me, but I'm so new to this, I'm just kind of experimenting. So I will figure it out. But for now, these are the lovely fancy flosses. It is a combination of Classic Color Works, Gentle Arts, and Weeks Dye Works. And I have not used fancy floss much. This is only my second project using it, but it's so beautiful that I definitely wanted to make sure I was using the fancy floss. And so I am stitching this one. Let me just check my notes. I started this on December 27th. I am stitching it on a 36 count summer khaki using those floss 1/2. So that's my progress so far. So not a ton done on this one. But it was still like almost 6 hours. We're almost at 6 hours of stitching. So pretty good for that amount of time. I also had to pause on stitching it because the reason I ordered from Hollis Hands Creates on Etsy, as I mentioned earlier, is I was missing this white color. And then I haven't started stitching yet, but I was missing one of the colors for the flowers. I had bought the floss back in the summer. I think they were probably just out of those 2 colors. So I needed to get those in to keep on stitching. Definitely gonna work on this one tonight, I think, because I put it down in favor of some other stuff that I'm like trying to put more progress into, but I should just stitch what I'm enjoying, and it's just so pretty. And I think one of the reasons I'm really enjoying this one is this is my first time stitching on 36 count. So I have stitched 1/1 on 2 Pumpkins Bright. That was a Hello from Liz Matthews Halloween one I did back in the fall, and I think that was on an 18 count. So I did it 1/1, and I didn't mind 1/1. It's an adjustment if you're going back between having 1 strand of floss and having 2 strands of floss. Because some of the time I was working on this one, I was folding the floss over and doing the 2 strands, and I was like, why does this look different? And I was like, oh wait, yeah, that's why. So you got to get yourself in the mindset that like, oh, this is the one where I just use the 1 strand, and I don't do the loop start and stuff like that. But I think I like this because when you're doing 1/1, you have less chance of having messy stitches because you don't have the 2 strands getting tangled or twisted. So it's cleaner when it comes to the actual stitches. And then I just think it gives it like a very delicate, soft kind of look. And I really like that. So I think I like 32 count. and I have quite a few projects on 32 count. 28's okay. I don't mind Aida, but I think I'm becoming more of a linen and a lugana stitcher. I think lugana is linen, it's just a type of linen. But anyway, I don't mind Aida, and I'll still stitch on Aida, and there's plenty of stitchers who only do Aida because it's easier to see and easier, certainly easier than linen, and I can certainly understand that. And when I stitch on Aida, it's like a really nice, easy, not thinking too hard or looking too hard at the holes kind of thing, but I definitely want to stitch more on 36 count. And I am tempted to try 40 count. I don't know when I will get to that. I don't know if it'll be a good idea, but right now I don't have too much trouble seeing the holes. It's not too bad for me. And I don't even use, at this point, anything special. I might get a better light or a magnifier at some point. Right now I have one of those standing lamps that has the reading lamp that kind of just, you can move it around, and so I just put that over my head and turn that on with the big lamp on too, and that's enough light for me, except for maybe the dark fabric. I did do a charcoal black fabric project at one point, and daylight stitching was easier for that, but for this one it can be nighttime, it can be daytime, and I just need that little bit of extra light, and it goes really smoothly. So I'm excited for that. And I think I'm about 5 hours on that one or a little more. So I will certainly achieve my Whip Go goal for that one and be able to black out that square. And that'll be my first like Whip Go check mark, so that's exciting. And then the last whip I'm working on, this is Joy of Winter. This is kind of like an unofficial stitch along. I was invited by Judith, who is at X Stitch Librarian on Instagram. She just messaged me back in December and said, hey, a group of us are doing a little Instagram messenger group, and we're stitching this pattern and chatting about it and getting to know each other. Do you want to join? And I was like, of course I do. So this is free, a free one. And this is Stitches Through the Years, Joy of Winter, and pretty good progress. Also, look at my little needle minder. So I won a giveaway from Two Needles Pulling Thread. They had a YouTube live back right before the holiday, just to like hang out with everyone and chat with everyone, and they had some giveaways, and I got a few patterns, and they sent this little guy, so he's real cute. He's perfect for this pattern. So that's what I have so far. I think the last time I might have had some of the bird and these two snowflakes, and I think that might have been, and then like this whole top part. So I think since then I did like the rest of this branch. I did all of the snow and the reindeer, the present, and then this is gonna be a lamp. It'll hang down that way, and this is a bird, I think. So making progress on this one. I kind of want to get this one done by mid-February maybe, just because it's wintry, so I just want to kind of knock it out, focus on other things, and just because it's not huge, it'll just mirror. There's a big house though that's going to take some time, so we'll see, but I would like to really make some progress on this one. Everybody in the stitch along, not everybody, a lot of people are like really far ahead of me, which is fine. It's not a competition. There's no stress to finish anything quickly, but I like keep seeing their beautiful houses, and I'm like, oh, I want to get to the house. And hopefully while I'm talking, you saw the pattern up there because it's digital. And this is just a 32 count taupe lugana, and I'm using their called for DMC for the pattern. So that's that one. So that's cute. Hopefully get a finish on that soon. And then, oh, the other Whip Go one, I'm going a little out of order here, but the other Whip Go one is number 10. It's Spring Quaker, and I have to work on one page of that. And so this one I've been focusing a lot of time on because one page actually is quite a bit of stitching. So this is Spring Quaker by Lila's Studio. I just think it's so pretty. That big basket, it's very springy, the little pops of color. I love the bunnies. So cute. And this is, I don't know if I would call it a stitch along, maybe, but Hugo Stitcher was gonna do this one as a snow day start. So she was gonna, or did, start this on the first day of snow. She's in Canada, so that came pretty early, and then we got our first day of snow where it was really just flurries, but there was some on the ground, so I counted it back in late November maybe. And so I started this one then, and now I'm just stitching on it, you know, when I have time or as part of Whip Go. And so I'm using the called for DMC. This is mostly how I've been keeping my DMC, just in baggies with the bobbins. And this one is on, I didn't write it down. I will put it below the magic of technology because I did not write the fabric down, which I even have, which I'll show you, a stitching journal to write everything down, and I did not write this one down. So that's okay. This is on a 32 count. I know that, and it's a linen. I just don't know the name of it. But that's what I have so far, which is actually like, it's quite a bit of stitching. So I've been spending a lot of time on this one. The one thing when you're looking at the pattern that I didn't realize is this is a lot of brown, which is okay, but like brown is not the most, probably maybe my least favorite color to stitch in. It's just not the most vibrant or fun color to stitch. So I did the heart and the bee, so I would at least get some stitching that wasn't all brown in there. But I think it's gonna be really pretty. I will say now that I've discovered 36 count, if I had not already done so much on this, I might have done it on a 36, but I think it'll look fine on a 32. It is 2/2. And again, I'm using the called for DMC on this one. And so to show you, so that's what I have done. And for one page, let's see if I can do this. I have to finish this whole motif, so I'm still missing like this side of it. I have to do these two snowflakes, the I and the J, and then like half of this at the bottom. So I still do have a bit more to go. Again, there's a couple letters. I think they're down here. What's over here? It's a little hard to follow when I'm like, it actually does show up backwards, which is weird. Like, not for you, but for me, it looks backwards. Okay, so the I and the J are over here, so I have to fill that in. I have to finish this, and then I have to finish the top of this motif. So it is actually a lot of stitching to do a page. But I'm glad I made that one of my Whip Go goals. It's only on my board 3 times, and it'll really get me to focus on this one in the month that it's called, because that's a lot of stitching. That's gonna take a while. So, but that's okay, no rush. So that is Spring Quaker, and I will show you, I'm keeping track of all my projects in here. And so I got this from the Fat Quarter Shop. I needed to order a few things from them, so I threw this in the cart too. It is a great little cross-stitch journal from It's So Emma to keep track of everything you're working on. It has lists 1 through 50. You can put 50 projects in here, and then obviously the numbers on here correlate to the number in here. And so I can keep track of the name of the project, the designer, when I started it, what it's stitched on. I haven't filled out all the details. The stitch count, the stitch size, your floss. You can keep track of your time and any notes. And so as you can see, Spring Quaker, I did not finish. I wrote that it's 32 count, and I did not finish filling this page out. So most of the rest of it's filled out, but got to work on that. So I will put the name of that fabric below. Okay, so that's my finish, my starts, my whips, a bit about Whip Go, and then my stitch along. So for my stitch along, it is starting in 2 weeks. So the weekend of January 28th, I will do a Flosstube that weekend. Probably on Sunday, but we'll see where the weekend takes me, and it'll be Saturday or Sunday, and I'll have started to put the first few stitches in. And the stitch along is going to be called the Best Bunnies SAL, and the only rule is to stitch something with a bunny. If you want to start with me in 2 weeks, please do. If you want to start sooner, go ahead. If you don't know what you're stitching or you don't have your stitchy stuff yet, start whenever you want, because I'm not going to finish this project in a day. And I picked Berry Patch. So this is a Hello from Liz Matthews pattern. Super sweet, so springy, so cute. I love it. I love literally everything about this, except maybe the fact that the border goes out this way. I don't know how I feel about that, but it's kind of interesting. It's funky. So I think it's so cute. And that's the reason I decided to do this stitch along, is I had been sharing this pattern and that I wanted to start it soon. And so many people also have this pattern and haven't started it and want to start it, that I thought, why don't we all start it together? But then I wanted to be inclusive of people who maybe didn't love this one or wanted something smaller or simpler. And so I said, you know, let's just celebrate spring. Hope spring comes soon, and stitch something with a bunny, because bunnies are spring to me, and bunnies are so cute. Who wouldn't want to stitch a bunny? Now, my question for you, and another reason I got some haul, is the fabric. And so the Berry Patch calls for the 36 count milk and honey. So I ordered the 36 count milk and honey, and I think that's coming out mostly true. And it's darker than I thought it would be. So look at this, which might, there you go. I think that's a good view of it. So like it's got a brownish hue, like a light brownish beige hue. And then look, it doesn't look the same to me. Like this looks so much lighter and softer than this. So that's interesting. So, I mean, it's probably just dye lots, and I'm like not that bothered by it, but I don't think I'm gonna use this for this project. It's beautiful. It is fiber on a whim. It is lovely. The variegation is so nice. It's a really beautiful neutral fabric that I will be able to find something for, no problem. But I just don't think I want this on it. I think it's very similar to the body of the bunny in some ways, and so I want something lighter. Let me know what you think, but I probably want something lighter than this. So luckily, when I was ordering a few little things for stash and ordering some extra fabric, I decided, since I'm starting to really like fiber on a whim, despite not having stitched anything on it quite yet, well, I did start the Tiny Town on there. But I like their neutral colors. I like the way the fabric feels. I like the modeling on it. And so I also ordered, and it's 32, not 36, but I ordered cream and sugar. And to me, like that matches so much better. I know this is not the best way to do it, but there you go. So I think I'm gonna use the cream and sugar because it's just a softer, lighter fabric. And I think the colors with the bunny will really pop and look nice on this. And I have more than enough because I got a big thing of it because I figured it's just a good neutral creamy white, and so anything would look good on this, and I think it'll look perfect for Berry Patch. So that's what I will do, and I will use the milk and honey for something else. But it is interesting, like maybe it's the way it photographed for the pattern. Maybe it's just the dye lot, maybe, you know, it could be anything. But there's the differences in the colors. This is much softer, creamier white. This has got more of a brown tone. So just FYI, if you are doing Berry Patch and you haven't picked your fabric yet, just, you know, maybe you don't want to go with the milk and honey. Maybe you would want to go with cream and sugar, or a different fabric of your choosing. I also want to say, for the stitch along, if you are on a budget and you have some flosses and fabrics but do not necessarily have the budget for or want to pay for a pattern, I did find 2 freebies from designers that I thought I would share. I just poked around to see if I could find something free to allow people to join who might be stitch their stash or on a budget freeze for this month for cross stitch. And so I will put, I guess I can put a picture here. So the first one is from Lindy Stitches. That is Stephanie Webb. I forget the name of both of these patterns, so I will put it in the description below because I didn't write this down, but I did remember I wanted to share it. But it's a little bunny, just simple. He's wearing a little sweater and hopping. And so this one's from Lindy Stitches, and I'm just going to link straight to their websites. So go on their website and look around for the freebie section, because that way I get you to kind of like see what else they have in case something else catches your mind, because it's so nice of these designers to share free patterns. So I want to get you to check the designer out in general, because maybe you see something you like that you add to your wish list. So this one's a free one from Stephanie Webb of Lindy Stitches. And then the other one I found, which I'm actually not going to put up on the screen because I think it is literally just the pattern itself, not a finish. And it is from Tiny Modernist. And it's kind of like a big fat brown bunny, and he's looking over his shoulder and you see his tail. And so that one's just very simple and very cute. So I will link both of their websites in the description. Go on their website and find the freebies section, and you should be able to find these bunny patterns. So if you want to join the Best Bunny SAL and don't have a bunny pattern, you can grab a PDF one for free and start stitching and stitch along with us. The other thing I want to add is that if you want to share what you're stitching in 2 weeks once you get started with me, please do tag me on Instagram. I am novel_stitcher. And I actually really want to, if you give me permission, if you're stitching different things and you tag me and share it with me, I'm going to share it with everyone, and I'm going to put some pictures up on my Flosstube of what everyone is working on. Even if you're also working on Berry Patch, love to see your progress, love to see what colors you're choosing if you're switching things up. Even if you're just stitching it exactly as it is in the pattern, would love to see how it's looking for you. So please share that with me, and I can share it with everyone to make it more interactive, and so everyone who's tuning into these videos can see what everyone else is working on. If you don't have Instagram, you can email me a picture. That's fine too. I am novelstitcher@gmail.com. So I'm so excited. It's going to be a lot of fun. Never done a stitch along. And again, the only rule, stitch a bunny. Stitch anything, even if the bunny is a little baby bunny in the corner. Anything with a bunny, and you know, no real start date. I'm starting in 2 weeks, so you can join along and start then if you'd like, January 28th, and no finish date. I might aim to finish mine by Easter, but no promises that I would even get there, get it done by Easter. So really no time to finish, and we'll just stitch and enjoy it. So that'll be great. And thanks to everyone who already said they're going to join in, because that's so exciting. And one person who said they're going to join in, and I think I'm good here on all the stitching that I've done and the SAL, and so Flosstubers to watch. So the first one is a very new Flosstuber, and it is Kensington Cross Stitch, and that is Deborah. And Deborah gave me a shout out because she's joining in on the SAL, which is so exciting. And she's gonna stitch something, a really cute pattern from Bent Creek that has a little bunny and little peep bunnies. And so I'm excited to see her stitching on that. But definitely give Kensington Cross Stitch a watch. She is brand new. She only has 2 episodes out, so please give the brand new stitchers some love and welcome them into this community and into Flosstube. She does have a whip parade out, so please go check out, I think that's episode number 2. You get to see all her really lovely whips. She's made some lovely project bags that she shows off. She really has a great variety of whips to show, and she is new to Flosstube, but does not, I think she said she's not new to stitching. She's been stitching for a while, and she very much knows what she's talking about. Very articulate, and is a lot of fun to watch. So please give Deborah a follow and welcome her to Flosstube. And then another Flosstuber who is a little bit more new is the Garden Goose Stitcher. The Garden Goose Stitcher is Teresa, and she's just very funny. She's got a great sense of humor. She likes to laugh at herself. She tells good stories, and she has some really lovely stitching. I think she might be at episode 9, so she's around where I am in how many episodes she's put out, so a little bit newer as well. So please give Teresa a watch. Really, really fun Flosstube. And then the last one is the Sable Stitchers. I was actually watching Linny and Roberta before I hopped on here to film my own Flosstube. I have been watching them from the start. They are so much fun. I think it originally was just Roberta, and then she met Linny, and Linny was interested, and now they do it together, and they are friends. And I love when 2 friends get together to talk about cross stitch. It's so enjoyable to see female friendships and laughter and fun, and they are very funny. They have really beautiful projects. They stitch a lot. They have so much to show, whether it's current whips or past finishes or just patterns they want to stitch on. They're probably one of my favorites, so definitely check out the Sable Stitchers. And then I think that's everything. Yeah. The only other thing is plans, which I don't really have many. Obviously my SAL. I think my stitch along is my biggest plan, which isn't for 2 weeks, but definitely gonna get the Berry Patch already, got my fabric. I'm pretty sure I have all the floss, but I'll double check if I'm missing any DMC and pop over to Michael's if I'm missing anything, but I should have everything. And just start putting some stitches in that late in the next 2 weeks, so that when I start the SAL on the 28th, I have a little bit to show. I do want to start and have a little bit of a start to show that weekend, so you can see how that's going. And then Whipco, almost there on Winter Rose Manor. I want to spend more time on that just because it's enjoyable, but I'm almost at that 6 hours, so check. And then Spring Quaker will probably have to be a focus because that page, there's quite a bit more stitching to do on that one. And then I think Jessie announces, I'm not sure the exact date actually that she announces the numbers for the next month, so we'll see what she pulls. And then that will give me some direction for what I might be working on in February. And then I will just stitch what I feel like too. You know, Big-Hearted Tiny Town, stitch on that a little bit, maybe get that down around Valentine's Day, and definitely put more stitches into the bookstore since it's just a little baby progress, and finish January for the months of the year from Jardin Prive. So lots of stitching. And I'm off tomorrow for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so I will be able to get a lot of stitching done tomorrow. No plans, so it'll just be a day of stitching and chores. I gotta clean the apartment, go food shopping, but stitching's more important, right? So yeah, that's it for the stitching. Thank you. We will talk about books in just a minute here, but for all of you who might hop off because you just want to stay for the stitching, thank you so much for watching. If you're not already subscribed, it would mean a lot to me if you consider subscribing if you like my content. That way you'll, have it in your feed when new videos are posted. You can also hit the little bell. That's a notification bell, which will let you know when I film. I try to film every 2 weeks, either on a Saturday or a Sunday, just depending on my schedule. So that's what I'm going to try to stick to. And happy stitching, and have a wonderful day and a wonderful week. And book talk. So I'm reading 2 books right now. One I've talked about, and that is True Biz by Sarah Novick. This is about deaf students at a boarding school for the deaf, and just about their experiences. I'm not super far in to talk about what actually, and I just lost my page, it's fine, to talk about what actually happens. Like, obviously there's 2 of the students have gone missing right now, but we're learning more about their backstory, and so it's been a little bit slow for me to get into because I know that there's like drama or action coming, but it's not here yet, and we're just getting some character background, and I like learning about characters and kind of getting into that part of it, but it makes it a little slower. But one thing I really like about this is and Sarah Novick herself is deaf, and I think she's trying to show, she's trying to show the differences between experience of deaf people too, because one of the characters we have met grew up in a family, I think his name is Austin, and he grew up in a family where his parents are deaf and a lot of members of his family are deaf. And so that gave him almost a more inclusive, welcoming family and welcoming experience because they all know what it's like to be deaf. Taught him sign language right from the start. They all use sign language, so he's very comfortable with that. It's just the world that he lives in. And then one of the other characters, I think it's February, her parents are hearing. And so for her, much different experience because they didn't know what to do with a young baby or a young child who was deaf. And they maybe were a little bit ashamed of the fact that she was deaf. And so they gave her a cochlear implant to help her to hear, but didn't really work, which is interestingly, Sarah goes into a little bit in the book. It's fiction, but she goes into like a lot of young children got cochlear implants and actually they they don't work as advertised. And so they can kind of hear, but not well enough to really discern what people are saying, and not well enough to really to learn in school and interact with people. And so February is kind of having that experience where she's entering into this boarding school for the deaf, way far behind everybody else, or way far behind students who have that life experience that she has where the parents weren't deaf. And so she doesn't really know a ton of sign language. The cochlear implant isn't really helping her to hear. And so she's kind of like just dropped in and kind of got to catch up. And so as she's learning sign language, we're also learning it. So that's also an interesting thing is Sarah included pages of the book that February is using to learn sign language. So you yourself can kind of learn the different symbols for sign language and how sign language works. Because it is really a language of its own. It's not every sign equates to like one word in English or whatever. There's different ways you can do different phrases or different signs that can be interpreted different ways, if I'm explaining that right. But it's really interesting, and it's one of those ones where it's fiction, so I think it's going to get juicy and interesting and captivating, but you're also going to learn a lot about the deaf community and what that experience is like. So I recommend it so far. I need to spend more time with it. I think I'm only about 50 pages in, and I need to kind of get to the meat of the story a little bit, and I think it'll pick up. The other one I'm reading, which I decided to do because I started the Big Hearted Tiny Town, which is Valentine's, was to pick up a romance. So I have the Happy Ever After playlist by Abby Jimenez. I'm so sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but it's good so far. It's cute. It's just your typical, so far, typical romance. I never remember characters' names. That's something I'm awful at, so I'm always going to be checking. So the main female character is Sloane, and Jason is the guy. And so it starts off like a little bit sad. So Sloane lost her husband in a motorcycle accident 2 years before this book starts. And so she's pretty depressed. She's not really living her full life. She's not really happy. And she's just really struggling. And one day she's driving down the highway and almost hits a dog. And the dog hops in through her sunroof into her car. She's living in Los Angeles. And she's like, oh, what is happening? And so she tries to hunt down the dog's owner and finds the dog is microchipped, so she finds the guy's cell phone number and she calls him and he doesn't answer, and 2 weeks go by and she's like, I'm keeping this dog. She starts really liking the dog. The dog's name is Tucker, and Tucker is kind of what she needed to get her out of the funk. She's taking him on long walks, she's playing with him. It's really like getting her to find joy and happiness again. And then of course Tucker's owner calls, and that's Jason. Jason is an aspiring musician and was off in Australia, and had his phone turned off while he was traveling, and that's why he never got Sloane's messages. But finally he leaves and turns his phone back on and realizes what happened, and realizes that the woman who was a friend or a friends with benefits kind of thing, I don't know, but she was not taking care of Tucker and didn't even care that Tucker got out, and didn't even try to find Tucker. So he's like, all right, that's over, and please may I have my dog back? And Sloane is like, no. And he's like, excuse me? And she's like, no, I like Tucker, I'm gonna keep him. Eventually she does give in and say like, yes, you can have him back, but he's like, I'm still traveling for a few more weeks. And she's like, I'm just gonna watch him. Like, I've been enjoying my time with him, and at this point I don't want him to go to a shelter or be with someone who won't take care of him. And of course they start texting and calling and flirting and getting to know each other, and he's finding out about her past and the loss of her husband, and he's not revealing too much about himself yet. He's becoming pretty popular. He's traveling to record a soundtrack for a movie and write an album. And so, but he doesn't want her to know right now that he's super famous. And of course he's gorgeous, because everybody in romance novels is. So of course she's flirting with him. And it's good so far. It's just cute, light, easy read. Romance is the genre I do blow through the fastest. I'm on page 65 and I spent less than an hour reading this. So romance just goes really fast for me, which is one of the reasons I think I like it. I just get very absorbed in the story. It's a quick read. I can check a book off my list of books I want to read, but just like kind of enjoy it and not be kind of slugging through it. I never really slog through romance unless it's not well written. I will say the only thing that kind of annoys me is like, of course he's a gorgeous musician, so like she's like, all right, I'm gonna flirt with him, and then like he eventually wants to meet her in person when he gets back to the States, and she's like, what if he doesn't think I'm beautiful? This woman was in beauty pageants. Okay, that bothers me. I'm like, all right, you were in beauty pageants and you're tall and you're thin and I know you lost your husband and so maybe you look a little tired and raggedy, but you're probably still gorgeous. So don't worry, he's gonna think you're beautiful. So that's the only thing where you're like, you were in beauty pageants and you're worried if he's gonna think you're beautiful. Anyway, but it's cute. It's cute. So far I would recommend it. We'll see where it goes, but right now it's kind of typical cookie cutter, but that doesn't bother me. Romances have a certain formula, and that's sometimes why you like it so much, because you know exactly what's going to happen within certain parameters. Usually not super surprised by romances, which is a good thing sometimes, and usually there's a happy ending, so I like a happy ending. So I think that's everything I have. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you're reading. Are you reading anything good? Are there any books coming out in 2023 that are catching your eye? Let me know. I'm not really tuned in right now to what might be coming out this year. I know Lisa C. has a new book coming out. She writes historical fiction. I've talked about her before, so I'm pumped for that. I think it's in May. But otherwise, I'm not sure who's coming out with books this year. So if there's anything coming out in 2023, let me know. Let me know what you're reading, stitching, and have a wonderful week, and happy stitching and happy reading. Bye.